If your why is big enough, the how will take care of itself. This is a quote that Dr. Katrina Ferguson lives by. Dr. Katrina delivers a passionate, enthusiastic, and entertaining message to both teach and encourage you to celebrate your individuality and breakthrough to become your greater self. Her inspiring messages are based on lessons learned in her own breakthrough journeys. Dr. Katrina is committed to helping others across the world to apply these principles in their individual lives and relationships. In her unique, uncompromising style, she brings life-changing principles and leadership skills to inspire and motivate thousands across age, gender, and industry lines. Featured in national publications including Essence Magazine and USA Today, as well as on national television shows including Judge Faith, Dr. Katrina has been the subject of numerous articles and interviews, and her story is currently being used all over the country to train and inspire sales forces of both public and private traded organizations. She routinely shares the stage with company presidents and executives as she conducts trainings and presentations around the country, and has spoken for several faith-based organizations including the Potter's House in Dallas, Texas, and Evangel Cathedral in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, just to name a few. Dr. Katrina speaks from her experience and success in the traditional corporate fields of real estate, financial services, and law, as well as her success as an entrepreneur, having owned and operated several successful businesses, including a publishing company, being the publisher of the Amazon best-selling book Footnotes, a 31-day leadership guide for women, The Queen's Legacy, and co-author of First Thousands Then Millions, retail establishments, and personal fitness studio. Her acute understanding and ability to inspire people has enabled her to excel in the network marketing industry. Her keen awareness that conflicting demands, resource constraints, and shifting priorities are challenges that must be overcome for success in today's global marketplace has placed her in constant demand as a presenter, motivator, and trainer of trainers across sales organizations across the nation. Dr. Katrina regularly conducts conference calls and training events for publicly traded companies, privately held corporations, entrepreneurs, and faith-based organizations. Dr. Katrina encourages everyone to be passionate and uncompromising in giving back to the community and celebrating their ability to do so. She has served as chaplain for the WNBA Washington Mystics team, as a member of the board of directors for the Women in Business Network of America, Destiny Leadership Institute, Talkback Radio, and voice of Destiny Ministries. She is also the founder and president of A Sister's Love, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to provide practical information, tangible and intangible tools to assist women and children in achieving while propelling them into greatness. She has raised thousands of dollars for faith-based organizations and has invested thousands of hours performing community service. Let's welcome Dr. Katrina Ferguson. Hey, hi everyone, Dr. Vernita Glenn-White. I go by Dr. VM, your brilliant solutionist and executive coach consulting for high-achieving, highly ambitious women and all of the elite, and those are in between. So we are back for another series. I am so happy to talk with my KK. I call her my KK. You don't get to call her that. Dr. Katrina Ferguson. She will be here with us, and I can't wait for us to dive into this conversation. So welcome, Dr. Katrina.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
I'm excited. Yes, I've known Dr. Katrina for a minute. We've been in the same community, the same coaching space, and I've just been drawn to her for this odd reason. I don't even know why. I don't even remember how we connected or anything like that, but I just love everything about her. And as you all know, I've been very strategic and selective about the people that I am bringing to you all because I value what they have to offer and I value all the things that I've learned from them. But my KK, Dr. Katrina, is definitely one on top. So as we get into this, I know you will hear a lot of her brilliance and she has a lot to share. And I'm so happy she's taking the time to share with us. So Dr. Katrina, you may not know this, but when I share out into the world, I have a tagline and it's called Embrace Your Brilliance and Expand Your Life. And I would love to hear what that means to you.
Embracing your brilliance and expanding your life. It literally, because I was reading through some of the questions even before now, and I started thinking about my tagline, which actually they kind of go together. Because mine is, if your why is big enough, then the how will take care of itself. So when you understand that the why you were created, your purpose for being put here is to literally allow your brilliance to attract people so that you can then begin to help them to expand their horizons, expand an understanding of who they were created to be, give them the ability to see their destiny, least of all, to actually walk it out, right? It kind of goes together. So it's about literally becoming more of who you are, the God breathed you, the God breathed destiny that he placed inside you.
Oh, wow. I love that. And we do hear about having a why, but like you said, I don't think a lot of times our whys are big enough. So I love that you said that. And then the second part, you said the God breathe you. I don't think I've heard that before, but that leads into when I think about brilliance, I think of them in two different ways: a learned brilliance and a born brilliance. And I love to hear your thoughts about that, especially since you brought up God breathe you. And I'll explain just a little bit of what I mean by the two types of brilliance very quickly. Learn brilliance, kind of what you went to school for, maybe what you got a certification in, and then your born brilliance, your born gifts and talents. So tell me your thoughts about that, especially since you said God breathe you.
Yeah, there are some gifts that are inherent to us. There are things that before we left heaven, it's like, okay, God, God is saying, I'm creating you to go to earth to do this, to solve this problem for this group of people. And a lot of times we don't think of our lives that way. We think that somehow we came here for ourselves, that only our family matters, only our children matter. But God was like, nah, I got y'all. I need you to go get the others. So he actually breathes into us a brilliance or some gifts, some areas that we actually excel in. And those things are designed to attract to us the people that he created us to serve, that he created us to be the answer to their problems. Now, on this path, on this journey called life, we have to figure out what that is. And that means we have to learn some new things. We have to expose ourselves to new things. Some would have to go to school and get degrees and doctorates. Others, they don't have to do that to be who God called them to be. So that means there's not one set journey or path for any group of people. So that means now we have to have some wisdom, we have to have some discernment, we have to spend time quietly meditating, getting closer to the one that created us to get that plan so that we can then begin to walk it out in the earth. And that's the thing we don't do. I was taught, grow up, go to school, get a good job, buy a house, have 2.5 kids and 2 cars in the garage, right? That wasn't my journey. And when I made that hard left off of that path, it was rough around my house for a while. My parents did not understand. And I have had the opportunity to talk with my dad. I was doing an interview for Essence. They were recording. And I told the cameraman, I said, keep rolling, keep rolling. I said, Dad, because I have my dad there. I said, Dad, when I needed you most, when I was coming out of high school, going into college and trying to figure out what does this journey look like for me, you turned your back on me because I didn't do it the way that you did. I said, how could you? Like, I really needed you. And he looked at me with tears in his eyes and he said, it's because I didn't know there was another way.
Wow.
Yeah, look at your life now and you've done better than I did. He said, but the foolishness, I thought there was only one path into your greatness. And I thought I had you on it, but God had another plan. And he started crying and he said, and I had to submit to God's plan. And it was hard for him, but it actually shifted my life because I am that woman who was looking for validation from that man because my dad wasn't giving it to me because he didn't understand where I was. So I always say this, for those of you who are out there, who are listening today, who are watching, if you've got a situation with a parent where you don't understand, how could they leave me? Or how could they, whatever they did in that moment, I want you to just borrow the response of my dad, what he said to me, that they simply loved you so much that even their logic, it just didn't line up. They don't do things to hurt us on purpose. It just happened. So release them, call them, love on them, and let that relationship be completely rekindled and renewed. Sorry,
Wow.
I'm taking another left.
No, this is perfect. This is it's so much there to unpack. And I was listening to say, okay, where's my end? Because we can definitely be here for a while just talking on that particular segment that you talked, that story. Based on that, I want to pull out a few things that I can think of right now. One, tell us more about the path that you had, because you have doctor in front of your name, so that means you had like a traditional education space in there. And then two, talk to us about the transition, the moment, because you say you were going on the path and then you changed, and that caused a little rift between your father and yourself. And we'll do those two for right now.
Okay. So the irony is my dad has 5 masters and 3 doctorates. Yeah. My mother, before she passed, had a master's in education. And so me, I get into my freshman year of college and get pregnant.
Mm.
Right?
Mm.
So I leave school. My parents get together and they say, well, if you don't, get rid of that and get back in school and finish it up, then we don't want anything else to do with you.
Wow.
Literally. And I don't have any hard feelings towards them because they didn't know anything else. Mm-hmm. All they knew was, as a Black woman, I needed an education. I needed some degrees, some letters behind my name before I was ever going to be anything. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't believe that that was the only way. And when I left school and I went and had my kids, I eventually came back around to finish it, but it was a decade later. My children were grown. They were not grown, but old enough for me to be able to, go to school and do what I needed to do. And at that moment, I had to come to grips with the fact that I may not be just like my parents. That the traditional path that worked for both of them to have tremendous success wasn't the path that I was created to follow. Or maybe I made a decision that caused a diversion, temporarily a diversion from that path for me. But I had to be okay with it. I had to be okay with my decisions. And that was the tough part, that when everybody that you have that has supported you literally turns their back on you, and their goal is to cause you to do something you didn't originally decide to do, are you going to stand? Are you going to stand flat-footed and say, you know what, it's my life, and I have to take ownership for the choices and decisions that I make, which means that what you're telling me to do, I'm not going to do it, no matter what it costs. But then when I came back on the other side, it became, I have to get certain things done, no matter what it costs, because I have something to prove. I have to prove to you that God still had a plan, that God knew I was going to get pregnant in my freshman year in college, that God knew that my family was going to attempt to turn their backs on me, and that God was going to touch their hearts and bring us all back together on the other side.
Wow. Yes. I love that you said to trust the decisions that you made. And sometimes I think, as high achievers, because that's in you, whether you go get a degree or not, that drive of being highly ambitious and a high achiever. And I want to make that clear. It does. And I talk a lot about having degrees because that's all my life. And those are the people that are attracted to me, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your ambition leads to a degree. That's not what I'm saying. We just so happen to be in that space because that's the path that they told us to be. But you said trust your decision. And what was like a few of the practical things? It is like, well, if it didn't work out this way, of the traditional pathway, what are some decisions that you made to still be that driving force, to still be that high achiever? But what were some things that you did that wasn't necessarily related to the traditional path?
I think, though, Dr. B, it's important to note that a degree does not ensure your success.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of people that are homeless in the streets with degrees.
Absolutely.
So you can have all the paper you want to have or have no paper at all. What it comes down to is, what's going on inside? What is your internal fortitude? What are you willing to fight for at any and all cost? What is it that you know you were created to do, and you're going to pursue it whether you have everything you need or not? And sometimes everything you need, or not part, includes not having enough money, not having enough time. Maybe you don't have a skill set. Maybe you have to go and do some self-education, some personal development. Maybe you got to get your mind right. Most of the people that I meet don't need another degree. They need a mindset shift.
Right.
Right? It has very little to do with what's hanging on their walls. For some, it's just a big receipt. And if you don't, so we just have to figure out, like, what is it really that you need to get where you're going? And then let's begin to work on that. And it can't be what someone else has imposed on you as what's needed to get there. Practically speaking, I have children. So now I had to figure out not just my life, but theirs. because they were raised in a situation, they didn't have two parents. And my parents, they divorced when I was 8 years old. So, you know, I had my mom and I had my dad. I didn't have them together. And for many, many years, I had nothing to do with my dad. Or should I say he had nothing to do with me? I guess I was the kid, so it's the latter. But I knew that there were things I wanted my children to have that I didn't have access to. And so I worked hard. My kids were my why. They were the reason I got up early and went to bed late. They were the reason why I worked a full-time job, a part-time job, and went to school full-time. Wow. Because I believed that's what was necessary to get us where we were going. I didn't want them to ever have to make a decision. Broke my heart. My daughter was a high school senior. And I remember talking to her about her yearbook and class trip and all that stuff. And she played it off like she did not care, like had me convinced it did not matter to her whatsoever. But I found out years later, I had her on stage with me and I just, oh my God, I cried in front of all those people because she shared how it wasn't that she didn't want those things. It was that she saw how hard I was working. Aww. and she didn't want to subtract from anything that I was creating for them. Right? She had watched the journey. So practically speaking, it's like, I'm just reminded of the times that I went grocery shopping in my mom's kitchen because I couldn't buy food. The times when we would show up at my friends' houses around dinner time so they could feed my kids. When we moved from the big house to the little townhouse because money was an issue. You know, in the separation that ended up in a divorce happening. And then I fast forward to moving out of that house into an 8,000 square foot home that I built from the ground up. And to my ex-husband showing up on the doorstep saying, I knew you'd figure it out. Another conversation, right? To being able to travel the world and take people with me, like, and to be able to just infuse philosophies and attitudes that literally supported that type of a journey. Because at any point along the way, I could have stopped. Anyone could have stopped. You could have stopped at any point along the way. But instead, there's something that's almost like whispering in your ear that's propelling you from the back that says, no, just a little bit further. And people will say, why didn't you stop? I don't know. I was afraid to stop. Right? They say, oh, it's so dark. Yeah, but I was always told that the brightest part of the day comes right after the dark. So what if I stopped right before the daylight came? What if I stopped and tomorrow was the day everything turned around for me? So the Bible says hope deferred makes the heart sick. I wasn't going to live hope deferred. I was going to live hope realized. I kept pushing. I kept pressing. Knowing that the stuff that we go through is not about us. It's about the people around us who need our stories, who need to know that if Katrina Ferguson could do it, anybody can. All I got to do is figure out what she did, and she's willing to tell me what she did, and just follow the same steps. It's really not rocket science. It's just ball-faced tenacity in the face of adversity. That's all it is.
Point blank, period. Oh my gosh. Again, so much in there. So much in there. I want to know, and you talk about having your big why, and your children were your big why. Absolutely. Can you find a through line or a common thread between what you were naturally born and gifted with that was also like a driving force that connected you to the different things that you had to do, the businesses that you have, and even going, back to school or sharpening your skill set? Can you pinpoint, like, what do you think your natural gift is?
Problem solving. Very simple. Every business I've ever started has come out of someone who did something wrong. Straight up, literally. I just had this conversation over the weekend. There's someone that was supposed to be doing some work for me around an asset that we're leasing, some asset leasing stuff. And I have given them 3 weeks to get it straight. And I literally said to him, I said, you've got 3 days to give me a reputable solution, or I will start this business myself and we'll do it right. Like, bottom line. And I called my partner. I said, we got another one, because I am a problem solver. And I figured if I had the problem, then others. In taxes, for instance, I never grew up wanting to be the tax lady. You know what I mean? But when I went from making, $60,000 a year to making $260,000 a year. And the IRS said I owed them $61,000 in back taxes. I was like, okay, hold on. Why, Sway?
Right.
What is that about? And because the guy who did my taxes wasn't helping me, I went in and did the research myself. Took over a year, but got that $61,000 tax bill reduced to the point where the IRS owed me $1,100. So I was like, well, if it happened to me, it's happening to other people. I wasn't trying to defraud the government. I really sincerely had no idea what I was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they were holding me responsible for information I did not have. Wow. So I was like, okay, if it happened to me, it's happening to other people. And I literally, within 5 years, I had started my own business. And then we've been brick and mortar ever since, all around the country. That's literally what happens. I solve problems. I find ways where there are none.
You know, I have two things to say about that. I remember when I was figuring out some things, and a former, I'll say supervisor, because I don't like to say boss anymore. Supervisor of mine was, and I was trying to get into consulting, and he was like, well, what's your unique thing? And I said, well, I understand processes and frameworks, and I solve problems. And I remember till this day, he was like, well, that's not good enough. That's not enough for you to do anything. And now when I'm sitting here, I can go back and find how those words have kept me stuck. And then now at this place, I literally help people solve their problems. That's why I call myself the brilliant solutionist, because I solve problems. And I just think, like, and this goes back to the next thing I want to say is, when you understand your true brilliance, then you can wrap that skill set on top of that. And I think I went to school like for mathematics and to teach it. That is a problem solving whole skill set. However, had I understood that I was great at problem solving and understood it the way you did, then yeah, I don't regret getting my degrees or anything, but it would have been a whole different approach had I known going in. So I love that you said problem solving is a true gift, and how you gave us a practical way of how that looks outside of a, I don't even want to say I mean, because it started a business, but it's not that you had to go get a degree for it, although some people go to accounting school, but it's just a different way of using that brilliance and letting that be your North Star. So I appreciate that example.
You know, taxes and accounting, they're two different complete fields.
Well, I know, but people go accounting and then they think taxes. So it's still like, that's, I know they are different. My sister has an accounting degree and she was like, don't ask me nothing about taxes.
Right.
But
right.
But I know. But it's like sometimes that's, well, if you think you can do that, well, people tell you go get an accounting degree. And yeah, so make sure you understand and you don't even have to know everything that you're good at, is what I'm saying. It's like, if you know one thing, just go try something.
And that's the other piece to that equation. That's another part of it, which is flat out not being afraid. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not it's not doing it that stops people. It's the start that stops people. Because someone has said, you don't know anything about it, you'll never whatever, you can't whatever, and that thing plays in our minds over and over and over again. But my mother said something to me. She said, I know how to get you to do anything I want. And I said, what? She said, tell you can't. And it's true. As soon as you tell me, when I got started in network marketing and direct sales, I moved so fast, and it was because of one conversation. At the time, my ex-husband said to me, you'll never make it work. I was like, thank you. I literally said, thank you. I said, that's the fuel that I needed. I've been trying to figure out what was going to propel me. What you just said, that's it. 3 years later, I'd made my first million.
Wow. I need to have that conversation, because me and this direct sales, anyway, that's another conversation for another day. I'm like, look, like, I like it, but anyway, that's different. We're gonna move forward, but I want the people to hear that Dr. Katrina is great at problem solving. She figured out how to solve her own problem and to help others. I don't know if you all caught that, because she kind of ran over it. She had a $61,000 tax bill, and it was reduced to where the government had to owe her $1,100. So her skill set, her brilliance, her natural gift allowed her to figure something out for herself. She's her own solution. And that's really what my focus has been once I'm realizing like my big why is helping people to realize you are your own solution first.
Mhm.
And it's like you said, for yours, it's not for you to just to stay and solve your problems, because you could have did that. You could have been like, well, I, that worked for me, and went on about your life. And nope, I don't think anybody would have felt any type of way. It's like, oh, okay, but you had a bigger calling to where you wanted to help others. So I just want to highlight that moment because I think it was so good, so good, so good. All right. So we are transitioning a little bit, talking about from resume to reinvention. And I talk about my S.T.E.A.M optimization method. Now I need to change it. But the S.T.E.A.M optimization, we talk about skills, time, energy, ambition, and money. And when I first approached you, I was like, well, I know you have a strong faith and spiritual background, and then I know you are great with money overall, from what I know, especially the business part of that and how I see how you live your life. So I'm going to say, yeah, that's part of it. But I want to know, like, how did you go from like what? How are those two things like showing up? And you can feel free to jump on skill or ambition or any of that. How are those really showing up in your life?
So what my belief, the life that I live today is literally the sum total of the thoughts I had yesterday. And what happens is I remember feeling like, why should I live this type of life?
Mm.
Why do they have it and I don't? What's so special about them? And the realization that there's really nothing other than time, not even skill set as much as desire, and a reason why. What's it for? Is it to indulge on myself? Why do I need that? And I remember praying about it, like, what am I missing in this equation? And in the process of personal development and reading books and being in front of other people who had more, right? If you want to figure out how somebody got what they got, just get in front of them, read their books, listen to, at the time, their tapes, right? Their recordings. And you will begin to, if you begin to apply what you're hearing there, you're going to start to get some of the same results. The challenge is we want to say, oh, they're not all that.
Mm.
Oh, just because they got that, they not all that. Well, they don't have to be all that. Just get what you can, throw away the rest, and move on. Right. And then the people who have these things, you want to be around people who have an abundant mindset. Like, I'm not afraid to share from my pot, because I know there's a bigger pot somewhere that I'll have access to. But anyone that you find that's either holding information closely, being very secretive, they can't help you. And what I found was that you attract money by the person that you become. That's it. Wealth is a stewardship issue. What are you doing with what you already have? If you're not doing what God called or ordained you to do with what you already have, there's no reason for him to give you more. When you decide that you will be that distribution center in the earth realm, he'll get it to you if he can get it through you. It's a stewardship issue. So, oh, you have a nice car. I'm like, praise God. Because it's really not my car. It's his car. He just lets me drive it.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as my mindset stays there, the stuff will never have me. The money will never have me. You know, the lifestyle will never have me. I just want more of him. He can have me. And as a result, I get stuff.
I love that you said that, because and this goes back to way earlier when you said you can have all of the degrees and that doesn't really equate to success. Because if we're honest, we can say we have these accolades, but it's like the stuff and the different lifestyle, and to be at, not everybody, but I'm gonna say a lot of people I know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people you know. No, you do want to travel. You do want to, have a nice car. You do, yes, you do,
Of course
right?
you do. Of
Of
course you
course
do.
you do. Like, let's not even play like you just have all this knowledge just because. And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you didn't go to school and have all these degrees just because you like to learn.
Right.
There was something attached to money or access to something. So I love that you how you talked about it, about being a good steward and what do you want it for. A lot of times people say, "Oh, I want to make $1 million," but then if you ask them how would you spend it, they can't answer that question, because you'll find out real soon. You'll get there's only so much you could buy for yourself that you, what else are you going to do with? So being a good steward and understanding that, when you said you have a nice car, but God gave you that, and praise God. So I love that you talked about money that way. And I haven't had a guest yet to talk about money because for some reason it is still like a taboo topic. Or well, let me go and say this. How did you get to the point, because you have multiple businesses, how did you get to the point where, yes, and you are, well, spiritual, religious, it depends on how people want to say, you're a woman of faith. How do you work between those two, operate between those two?
So I'm going to say that people approach money as a taboo subject because they don't understand it. And typically, when you think of people who have nice things, they're flashy. They are, it's more about the things. I have friends now who it's really about, oh, well, whose bag is that? Is it Prada? Is it Versace? What is it? Coach. What's the big deal? Now, ironically, I bought my first bag last year. My first $6,000 bag I bought last year because I could not understand why. What is the point of spending this much money on a bag when I could give that money and feed probably 3 families for 6 months? You know what I'm saying? It just didn't resonate with me until I felt free enough to actually do it. So I did it. I bought it for my birthday. I was in Paris. I was like, this is my the flagship store. This is the place to do it, right? But I study money. And I study money for what it is. Money is energy. It's a tool. It gives you the ability to move beyond me, myself, and do some things for others that maybe they wouldn't do for themselves. Now, in the process, it doesn't mean that I don't deserve to have access to nice things. And a lot of times people think that, especially in kingdom or Christian societies, that when you have nice things, that you bought it with other people's money. Literally. So it's like, oh, look at Pastor Katrina with the, you know what I'm saying? No, this, because
she got my tithes and offering.
Right. And it's not even about that. And I've always been drawn to ministries where the pastors and leaders are business people. So remember, the Bible tells us, I'm not trying to turn this into a message, but the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. There's to be a great exchange. So we're supposed to go out and bring money in. That means we have to attract it by who we are, by who we become, and what it is that we intend to do with it. What is the plan of God for this money? When I get a lump sum of money, I'm like, okay, cool. I'll stick it in the account and be like, all right, God, what are we doing with this? Like, is it seed? Is it harvest?
Wow.
Am I supposed to sow it into somebody else's life, or can I blow it? What is it? What can I do with it? And when you begin to see money as a tool and an object, it won't take over your life. It just becomes a way. And then, I heard a message about, and I've shared it, who needs money when you have favor? Because a lot of times the thing that we are seeking after the most is not what we really need, is what we think we need when God has a different plan. Wow. So who's the voice that's speaking to you in the wee hours of the morning, in the late hours at night? What's happening inside you? What's the conversation? What is the languaging? What are you saying to yourself? What have you been taught about money? Money is the root of all evil. Not so. Hunger is. Right? Not being able to pay your bills is.
That is very true.
Right? Let's stop. I had somebody in my circle who used to always say he wanted to be hog nasty, dirty, rich. Why does rich have to be dirty? Like, fix your mind, fix your language, fix your words, so that you can actually have more what you really want instead of what you've been taught traditionally to say.
Well, I'm glad I get to go back and edit and record this, because I will be taking notes myself. I'm trying to stay focused and not write. I'm taking a catalog. But it's so true. I love that. I didn't grow up like not thinking that money was evil or anything like that. I didn't grow up thinking like the rich people are horrible. But I grew up thinking that, well, if you were set in a job, then that's all the money that you're supposed to get for yourself, not thinking that you can generate and create more. So I've had to shift that way as well. And I wanted to bring that up because, everyone may not have been on the other side, but it's still that middle ground that's still not an abundant mindset to know that you can call money in. So I'm glad that you gave that broad range of examples that way, because a lot of us, if you don't have it, then that means it's
Right,
still
right,
some
right.
conversations. What I also love that you talked about, and this ties back into your brilliance and knowing your why and being a solution for others, is because God gave us these unique gifts and talents that we're naturally born with, number one, because technically we shouldn't have to go to school to generate the to create the kind of life that we desire. We don't. But since we did, that's just another layer. And if we're really tapping into what God is saying and how to be good stewards and understanding our why, then we are the solution. And then I see that as tying it into wealth, because business people make money because they solve a problem or create
Exactly.
a desire. So there it is. All right, this has been a great conversation. I want to know, because I know your lifestyle. I know a little bit about your journey to working with a coach, but I want you to share with all of the things that you had going on. You started becoming successful in your own right. What was one of the things that made you say, you know what, I want to start working with a coach or working on myself directly at another level?
I honestly cannot remember a time where I didn't have a coach.
Okay.
I can't. I've always been a strong proponent of personal development, being self-educated, self-taught.
Mm.
One of the problems I had in college was my business professor asked, he was talking and he said, does anyone have any questions? And I was like, yeah, I have a question. And he said, yes, well, how did you apply that in your own business? And he was like, excuse me. I was like, you're telling us to do X, Y, and Z. I'm trying to see, how did that play out for you in business? And he said, well, I don't have a business. So you're giving us theory
Wow.
and not what actually happened for you. He was like, well, I mean, I'm telling you how it should go. I said, theoretically. Literally. And that was the day I started looking for mentors and coaches.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
literally started looking for people who were doing what I wanted to do, who had what I wanted to have. And I started asking questions. And I remember the way that I became so close to Les Brown is I ran into him at a book signing. It was in DC. And I said to him, I walked up, I didn't even buy the book now. I didn't even buy the book. But I said, I've been praying for a mentor. And he stopped and he looked at me and he said, well, it looks like your prayers have been answered. And literally that very weekend, he's like, we're having this thing at the house, come over. And we became fast friends. My kids call him Uncle Les, right? And I just started really looking for people who were where I was trying to go. And I would not remember, this was crucial to remember. A mentor is not someone whose advice you seek. It's a person whose advice you actually apply to your
Mm.
life. Don't waste a mentor's time.
Mm.
Don't do it. You will kill the entire relationship. When your ideas of ways of doing things are greater than that mentor's, just move, get out the way for someone who actually is willing to learn and apply and grow. Because that mentor didn't just spend a few weeks trying to figure out what to say to you. They have spent their life. They've made sacrifices to have information to share with you. And it's disrespectful to be confrontational about it. Like I don't do it. We don't do it. I'm just saying. So maybe you need a coach, somebody that you're paying a whole bunch of money to, and then you'll listen, whatever it takes. Okay. So, but that was the thing. What he said, I did. I listened, I applied it. And in the speaking arena, I mean, I can tell you, I've spoke, my largest audience is 15,000 people based on what I learned in the process. Now, I'm not going to say he had all my answers because he didn't. And he'll tell you when he said the book that he wrote, I think it was Live Your Dreams, and it had a chapter on there about marriage. He'll tell you, tear that out. I messed it all up. Don't re-archify that part. But then these other areas, very strong. I have a money coach. I have someone who coaches me spiritually. I have a health coach. Some would call them doctors. I choose not doctors. They're practicing. I want to coach. I want somebody who's going to teach me how to take better care of the body that I'm in. So you got to find coaches and mentors that will line up with where it is that you're going, and get some self-education. Yes, formal education will make you a living. Self-education will create a whole different lifestyle.
Ooh, say it again.
I don't know. I think I said, I said formal education will make you a living. But self-education will allow you to create an entire different lifestyle for yourself. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's where the wealth, the millions, you got to get out of the box. We can't be so narrow in our thinking and in our movements. You got to be able to take risks and be okay with it. I mean, that's what an entrepreneur is. Calculated risk taker.
Well, you know what, too? I'm in the middle of writing my third book. So some of this has been, research for me. And those of us who actually went off to school, we took those risks. We were out there 17, 18, even if you did it in the non-traditional sense, you showing up in classes, listening to people, being around people you were not familiar with. But there's somewhere that we stopped taking those risks and we stopped expanding. Like, we soaked up any and everything. We challenged people who they were in the we did all of that, but it's something that happened along as we've gotten older where we stopped. I'm still trying to figure out what has happened.
I think one of the things that frightens me the most, my dad, as I said before, 5 masters, 3 doctorates. Today he feels irrelevant. He stays right in the boxes that he's created with his own education. If he's not studying and reading, he's just lost. I can't get him to take a trip with me. I can't I'm in Florida, he's in Virginia, to get him to get on a plane and come. It's like he's stuck in this way of doing things all this time. I'm the exact opposite. I'm going outside my comfort zone. I'm jumping out of airplanes. I'm bungee jumping. It's over the top. So the thing is, even with that formal education, you've got to find a place and a way to stay relevant, to stay fresh, to stay still. Because remember, what you learned yesterday, the answers might be different tomorrow. Doctors are always saying, oh, there's this new drug, because the old drug doesn't do what it used to do, right? So we have to stay on top. We got to stay right. Got to keep your brain active and stay moving.
I think that's what it is. And this is not the direction, but I'm flowing with it. I think that's what it is. When we've gone to school and we got all this knowledge, it was like, okay, this is new, this is energy, this is buzzing. When we get that first career, or people who start their business, they're writing, they're moving, but then they don't stay relevant, they don't stay current, and that's where you get stuck.
Stale.
That's what it is. It's going in the book. You heard it here first. That's what it is. Okay, I'm moving on because I'm having these aha moments. Okay, you gave some great advice. I want to hear your rapid fire, and I see this framework as moving from resume to reinvention. Perfect what you said. You have all the accolades, whether that's business or in a career. And then now it's like, okay, I don't want to steal, I want to reinvent. Now we're realizing we got to be relevant. So it may be from resume to relevancy. I don't know. I may need to change it. Oh, wow. Okay. So in the areas, I want to hear your advice in the 5 areas: skill, time, energy, ambition, and money. Just rapid fire. Tell me your thoughts on the ways to up level in those areas. So skill set.
It depends. It depends on who you are and where you're going. So for me, initially, to up level in the tax arena is, I had a friend who had an office. I went to work with her. Someone said, you took a job? Well, it wasn't a job. I was a contractor. I was helping her out. But at the same time, I was learning what was necessary to up level my skill set. And then once I got to the point where I realized there was nothing else here for me to learn, then it was like, okay, go get this certification, then go get this registration, and then build your own relationship with the IRS, and those types of things. So you have to be able to see, to quantify where you are in your skill set today, determine where it is that you want to go, what it is that you want to offer. And even like this year, every year we expand our offerings as a company. And then it's about getting that out to all of the different offices so that, okay, now this year we were able to help with this, that, and that. In addition to simply doing your taxes. I apologize. I thought I saw a lizard, I would have left. Katrina has left the room. Yeah. So up-leveling your skill is literally about realizing what it is that you're missing. Where are you lacking? What are you lacking? And then, well, how do you best get that?
Awesome. Time.
Yeah. Time waits for no man, right? Time, I haven't mastered time. In all honesty, I haven't mastered time because I still do what I want to do. Mm-hmm. But I always say I designed my life so that I could. Right? So back when time was at a minimum, I always knew that I would come to a day, I was creating a life that there would be a day where I could do what I want to do, whether it's volunteer to work with, different opportunities or, go on a birthday trip with my daughter. I wanted to master my time and not the other way around. So I haven't quite gotten there yet.
That's fair. I love it. That's fair. Energy.
Oh, I love the whole energy thing goes in so many different directions. When you start talking about like attracting energy, being able to get energy to do all the things you want to do, and then having the energy. Do you realize I spent a week in Honduras at Dr. Sebi's village? And what happened in that environment, the energy in that environment, it was one of healing, of hopefulness. It was one of restoration and rest. So you have to figure out all of this, Dr. V, is about understanding where you are at any given moment in any given area and having a formula to replenish in that area. Wow. So if I had not decided years ago that money was not going to be the thing that stopped me from doing anything in my life, I wouldn't have been able to get to a place where I could get that restorative energy that I needed so that my body would operate optimally, that I could have the energy to do all the other things I need to do.
Wow, that's so okay. I'm gonna stay focused. I'm like, it's so much in that
crazy
too. Okay.
Interrelated.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's deep. It's deep. Ambition.
Well, people are always talking about setting goals, putting things in place, and I always say, what is your ambitious goal? What is the ambitious goal that's going to cause you to come outside yourself and not just, click off a box that I move closer to it this week, right? If you saying you can do it in 6 months, I'm saying challenge yourself, do it in 3. Challenge yourself, push yourself, because it's in the ambition. What's the worst thing that can happen is that you achieve the goal in the original time frame. So what? Push yourself, push yourself. Be ambitious and ambitiously approach anything that you're here to do, especially if it's something that God put in you to do. Because attitude is everything. Attitude is everything.
Wow. I love that. And then you've already shared a little bit, but I still want to talk more. Your quick thoughts on money, up-leveling your money.
Just remember, you don't get in life what you want. You get in life what you are. If you want more money, become more valuable to the marketplace. Ooh. What does that mean? It means getting clear on your assignment and living it. Your God-breathed assignment, and you'll attract all the money. The Bible talks about opening the windows of heaven so that he could pour you out a blessing you would not have room enough to receive. And everyone wants to tie that to a tithe and an offering. Mm-hmm. Well, you got to tithe your time. You got to tithe your gifts. You got to tithe your skill set. It's not just money.
Oh, as you all can see, I'm leaning in, and I have to make sure we honor the time because this is so good. Okay. The final question, and you can answer this however you want, is: do you believe that brilliance is a privilege, and why or why not?
I don't think that brilliance is a privilege in the sense of the definition of privilege being only some people have it. Everybody has a brilliance. The question is, are you living? Are you showing it? Are you allowing it to shine through? Are you allowing the God-breathed brilliance to do what he intended it to do, which is to attract people for kingdom purpose? So yeah, everybody has brilliance. It's not, I don't want to say you're not special, or not you, but brilliance is not special. Everybody has it. It's in there. But sometimes it gets covered up by life circumstances and situations. Sometimes it is buried by how we think about who we are or what's happened to us. But it's there. Let's uncover it. Think of the diamond, right? It's coal. It looks like a rock of coal initially, until it gets shined and cleaned up, and then it begins to sparkle. And everybody has that inside them.
Wow. You are a diamond, everyone that you're listening. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Dr. Katrina. If you have picked up on anything, and if you're like me, I was trying not to write and stay focused on camera, but I'm pretty sure I'll have a lot of notes when I go back and do this. Make sure you comment something down below. Write down your takeaway. Share with us something that stuck out to you. If you want to write the whole paragraph, you can. I will not stop you, because this was so, I don't know, jam-packed with wisdom and nuggets. I told y'all to be ready. I told y'all. All right. I mean, yes, this has been great. Thank you so much, Dr. Katrina, for sharing all of your wisdom and your knowledge with us. I'm so excited, and I can't wait. Maybe I need to do a follow-up somewhere, because it was so much in here for us to talk about. And I love how you tied everything together with ambition and brilliance and money and skill. All of that was just so, so beautiful. And I love your story that you have. Share it with us. So I will have Dr. Katrina's information down below. She has so much to offer. I know you've heard a lot about the taxes, and that is great. But she also has other things she has to offer. I forgot to ask you this. What is your brilliance, or your company, or the ways that you help people? I forgot to ask you.
So I am a systematic serial entrepreneur, right? Systematic in that, again, we solve problems that I can't find solutions to. So I'll start a business around that. That's how my publishing company got started. Of course, that's how the tax company got started. Our coaching is the same way. There's so much that we do. It's not just even one area. And I'm kind of like a trailblazer front runner. So I'll go out and I'll start it, and then other people run it, and then I'll go do something else and just kind of serve as consultatively in that matter. So we do a lot of consultation, but the bottom line is I help women specifically become financially free, to literally be who they were created to be, without taking away from the things that are important to them, like their families and their relationships.
Okay, awesome. Yes, I forgot to ask that question, because the whole point of this one is I do want to hear every different people's thoughts and opinions about reinventing themselves, but also creating a community where, yes, I am a coach consultant, I like to say, and I may not have all of the answers, but part of being a solutionist is to being able to be attached to people who I know have solutions to situations where they're not my area, or I don't know, but I can get you the solution to that. Right. So that's why I want to make sure I highlighted that. So this wasn't just, oh, let's have this chat, but there are resources available, and I wanted people to know that. Okay, now for real, we are ending. Thank you all so much for listening and learning with us. Remember to be well, be empowered, be bold, and be brilliant. Until next time, bye.